Hey everyone, what's going on? Quick heads up for all the shinobi, samurai, min-maxers, parkour diehards, and animus tinkerers out there. Ubisoft has pushed a fresh hotfix for Assassin's Creed Shadows, and the big headline isn't a new quest or another combat tweak. It's a straight-up economy correction that a lot of you asked for. The update is 1.15.057, released on November 6, 2025, and Ubisoft also labels it Title Update 1.1.5. If you saw a tiny download and wondered why your projects suddenly feel more rewarding again, that's exactly the point. Let's unpack what this means in normal player terms. The studio just rolled back that controversial reduction to infinite reward tier keys. If you remember, last week's bigger patch changed the amount of keys you'd get after finishing projects in the infinite tier from 400 down to 100, and it wasn't exactly a popular decision. With this hotfix, they're restoring the original payout of 400 per completed project in the infinite tier, which is unlocked after you've been clearing those anomalies. Ubisoft literally framed this as a player feedback response, so if you spoke up, it landed. If you missed the backstory, that reduction didn't happen in a vacuum. Title Update 1.1.4 went live on October 28th and did a bunch of things, including adding corrupted castles and expanding the parkour toolset. But tucked into those notes was a rebalance to the economy. More weekly anomalies to nudge projects along, offset by the reduced infinite tier rewards. That's where the keys cut came from, and that's what this hotfix just reversed. So we're back to the pre-1.1.4 generosity for the infinite tier, while the rest of last week's content remains in play. File size-wise, this is one of those blink and it's done updates for some platforms and a bit chunkier for others. On PS5, you're looking at around 0.54 gigabytes. Xbox Series XS clocks in at about 8.23 gigabytes. PC is roughly 5.49 gigs with a smaller 0.27 gigabit delta if you're pulling it via Steam's typical patching. On Mac, it's close to 9 gigabytes. If you're juggling storage or wondering why your console barely nudged while your friend's download looked larger, that variation is normal and called out in the coverage. So what should you actually do with this information? If you're knee-deep in projects, the path is simple. Hop back into the infinite tier loop and reclaim your rhythm. Restore the exact cadence you had before the cut. Hit your anomalies, unlock your infinite tier, and run the projects as usual. That reliable 400 key payout is meaningful because it shifts your whole progression plan, especially if you're aiming for specific vendor purchases or saving for that next gear push. It also means if you paused your grind after the change, you can return without feeling like your time is being undervalued. The hotfix is about making sure the minutes you invest translate into the reward structure you were expecting. A lot of you also asked how this interacts with last week's content beats, and the answer is smoothly. Corrupted castles are still there to spice up your endgame loop, and the parkour tweaks remain. If you haven't tried the advanced parkour toggle yet, give it a go. Removing those guardrails opens up some spicy traversal routes in towns and castles, especially when combined with directional catch and the side back eject refinements. For players who live on rooftops and rope lines, that whole movement package was a rare treat, and it's still intact post-hotfix. Corrupted castles, for their part, are basically revisits with new anomaly-infused enemies and slightly tweaked patterns, plus a chest payoff that feels great when you're in the mood for efficient, repeatable challenge. All of that landed with 1.1.4. The hotfix doesn't undo any of it, it just fixes the economy lever that dampened some folks' motivation. Let's talk about who benefits the most. If you're a project's first player, the type who loves seeing the Animus Hub bars fill and the numbers tick, you just got a straightforward buff to your time efficiency. If you're casual and hop in a few nights a week, this is a morale boost. Your evenings of progress now convert back to the key count that makes big purchases feel attainable again. And if you're in the mid-game, kind of pivoting between story cleanup and system grinds, this effectively tells you, yes, projects are worth prioritizing again once you've cleared the unlock conditions. It also reduces the temptation to churn between too many different projects just to make up ground, which last week's messaging encouraged. Now you can leave a tier loop without that sinking I'm getting less for the same effort feeling. A quick word about stability. Ubisoft's message around this hotfix has focused on the economy rollback, but some aggregators noted general stability and crash fixes as part of recent quick patches. If you were one of the unlucky players hitting launch problems or weird performance hitches, grab the update and see if your experience improves a bit. These kinds of small hotfixes often bundle a couple of quiet stability nips and tucks alongside the marquee change. That said, the reason you're likely noticing the difference right away is the restored keys. Let's address the elephant in the room. Why tweak keys in the first place? Economy tuning is always a balancing act. When developers increase a source of progression, like bumping the number of weekly anomalies so you can shuttle projects along faster, they often reduce a payout elsewhere so the overall curve doesn't explode and trivialize the long-term loop. That was the logic behind the reduction. The problem is that infinite tier projects are the place where veteran players spend a lot of their time, and taking that payout from 400 down to 100 made long sessions feel less satisfying. You could sense the volume of feedback across community spaces, and clearly, it moved the needle. If you value your time, this feels like the right course correction. If you took a break after the big patch because the economy felt stingy, here's a practical way to re-enter. First, check your in-game version in your system UI to confirm you're on the hotfix. On console, the number should appear in your game info. On PC, you'll see the update applied in your client. Once you're good, head to your anomalies and clear what you need to maintain access to the infinite tier. From there, plan a batch of projects that line up with the gear or vendor targets you care about most. I like tackling a cluster that shares a reward theme, so the keys and currency funnel toward a single end, a specific upgrade path, or a cosmetic set you've been eyeing. The idea is to convert that 400 per into something tangible you can equip or craft by the end of your session, so the dopamine hit is immediate. For anyone choosing optimization, here's a rhythm that works nicely. Warm up with a corrupted castle to get your hands and head in the zone. Those anomaly-infused patrols demand attention but aren't so long that you burn out early. Then rotate into a set of projects, cashing in the infinite tier payouts as you go. If you're a traversal lover, weave in a short parkour route across a dense town, especially with the advanced toggle, so you don't turn the evening into a single-mode grind. That variety keeps your focus sharp and makes your reward screen land extra sweet. When you're ready to log off, do one more quick project just to finish on a resource spike. Momentum is your friend. Ending with a reward makes it easier to jump back in next session. One question that's come up, will this revert last? None of us has a crystal ball, but the language around the hotfix and the timing suggest Ubisoft wanted to respond promptly without rewriting the broader loop they shipped last week. The sensible read is that the team will continue to watch engagement and may still make adjustments later. But for now, you can plan around the restored 400 as the baseline. If that changes again, expect official notes and community chatter to light up the moment anything moves. If you're wondering how this affects new or returning players who missed a chunk of post-launch updates, the answer is it's a net positive. Earlier patches introduced better parkour flow, a higher level cap, and more ways to tailor builds, and the huge content drop recently, plus the corrupted castles layer, means there's a robust ladder of things to do. The economy rollback now aligns the reward pacing with that expanded activity slate, which is exactly what you want for retention and satisfaction. It's easier to convince friends to return when you can say, yes, your time is worth it again, and mean it. As always, a couple of quick housekeeping items before you jump back in. Keep an eye on the official newsfeed and the Ubisoft site for formal notes. That's where the 1.1.4 details live, including the original explanation for the keys change, and it's also where you'll see future adjustments. If you prefer curated roundups, the Patch Watch sites did a solid job calling out the version mapping and the file sizes per platform, which is handy if you like to manage bandwidth or storage ahead of time. And if you're ever unsure whether your client actually applied the hotfix, compare the displayed version in your library with the number we mentioned near the top. If it matches, you're set.